It's called The Power of the Other. We just thought we would throw out what would be the highlight of the book because I think it would be very helpful to our listeners in the sense of connection, because connectivity, your connection with people is everything, and it's going to determine where you're going. The only reason we're at 50 is we've had the connection with each other.
Yeah.
We've surrounded ourselves with good people that have kept us in this sense of keep going.
It reminds me of like a boy band that's put together by like a label that says, oh, I found a guy over in Iowa, and I found a guy in Oklahoma, and I got a guy in California, and got a guy in New York, and they all kind of sing separately, but we think they would look good. And so let's piece them together in this band. And they only last for so long because they've not had any deep, intricate connections in life. And that's why they might rise to fame quickly, but they break up really fast over a couple of albums. Because they were pieced together, and although it felt organic, it was forced organic, and it just didn't last. What is going on, Armchair Authentic friends and family? Welcome to a special milestone episode 50 of Armchair Authentic, a podcast with your friends, Rhett and Justin. It has always been our hope to steward our stories in a way that serve you by having real conversations about real life with real people. And today's conversation, we talk about things such as the power of other, as well as what does it look like to have corner for relationships. All of this and so much more is unpacked in today's conversation. But before we jump into that, always want to take a moment and say welcome to those of you who may be joining us for the first time. Man, it's so good to have you along for the journey. However you found us, we're glad that you're here. And could I encourage you, if you haven't followed us yet on social media, would you go to Facebook or Instagram and look us up? Click the like button and follow us at Armchair Authentic. That's at Armchair Authentic. Or you can hop on over to X and find us at Armchair Auth Pod. That's Armchair Auth, AUTHPOD. Now, before we continue the conversation, always want to take a moment and encourage every single one of you. If you have been enjoying these episodes, could you do us a huge favor? Could you take a moment to copy the link from your favorite podcast platform and send that to a friend? Man, you sharing that means so much to us. Okay, guys, now into the conversation. It's episode 50. We're talking corner for relationships and the power of other. You guys ready? Here we go.
Well, Rhett, can you believe it? We are at episode 50.
Drum roll.
We did it. 50.
Unbelievable, man.
I can't believe that it's already at 50.
I mean, I guess it is
episodes.
Believable because we're here, but unbelievable in that, wow.
Yeah, it's like
50.
week 2 of 2025. And, you know, there's 52 weeks in a year. And we launched this in February.
Yeah.
Which is going to be why we didn't hit our
2 trailers before it launched.
That's
so,
right.
You know.
Yeah. So really 52.
52. Yeah.
And a bonus episode, 53. But now we're taking away the epicness of 50.
Yeah.
But no, as true episodes, the regularly weekly scheduled episode, we're at 50, man. That's quite the accomplishment. I didn't know if it would hit this number or not. And I think that we've just kind of locked in and said, let's just do this each week and see what happens. And you just do a good work. It's what we talked about last week. We've just stayed steady in the mountaintop seasons, but we both know there's been a lot of the valley. We are coming up with material in this podcast because we're just having our valley conversations.
Yeah.
And you just stay consistent with it. And we're at number 50.
Yeah. I'm really taken back by our friends who have been listening. And by the way, whether we know you personally or you're on this journey, we call you friends because you're with us, man. And so welcome to the living room, Armchair Authentic Conversations.
Yeah.
But some of our, what I might say friends we've known from doing life with will text us from time to time. And it's interesting, some of the comments and feedback that I've received. One of my family members said the other day, and I might be putting words in their mouth, but this is how I heard it. It was something to the effect of, listening to your podcast is oddly comforting.
Nice.
And I was like, wow, that's a very refreshing thing to say, oddly comforting. And she was like, it was the way she said it. It was like, sometimes I have a hard time telling you guys apart. Like your voices are so similar. She said, I think for me, I recognize, Rhett, you talk faster,
Yeah.
and Justin talks a little slower, and that's good because there's that combination. But I don't know, it's just encouraging. And so 50 episodes, man, and we're just getting started.
Well, I love that word too, comforting. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me because, people who have started this journey before us, I have podcasts that I tune into, and I'm grateful that I can depend on them in the sense of if I'm working out or I just want to listen to something, if I'm going for a run, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I really enjoy knowing that there's going to be an episode release because it's fresh.
Yeah.
And I look forward to the content, but it makes sense what she's saying. There is a comfort when you're used to listening to something. I think we would both say that we're honored when we hear that because that's such a compliment that you would be comforted by listening. And I think it just goes into the fact of, as we're hitting 50, episodes for every week in the year since February of 2024, you've been able to depend on hearing a new episode by Armchair Authentic. And the more you listen, and you do feel a closeness when you're listening to the same voice every week. Yeah, I think it does bring a comfort, and that's encouraging to me. And I think that would be a hope when we're here talking now.
Yeah.
We're having a great time on our own, but there is that hope that people are tuning in and listening and getting something out of it, even if it's just the comfort of it.
When I sit down or when I'm talking with somebody, or they're like, hey, man, I've been listening to your podcast, and then they'll start talk, and I'll start mentioning something like, oh, yeah, I heard that on the podcast. Oh, yeah. I'm like, holy moly. Like, I don't really know you.
Yeah.
But it's like, me. So
love it.
It's and I don't say that from a prideful stance. I say that from a very humble stance of going, wow, because I'll be talking to somebody. It's almost like I don't have to cover a lot of backstory.
Yeah.
Which
so
is
true.
Which I can, it's nice, but oftentimes I'm like, oh, well, tell me about you. I want to know about you, like what's going on in your life. And so it saves me, which is great. It just saves me a lot of time to have to like really set up something with someone.
Yeah.
Cause it's like, oh yeah, you've been listening. You know what's going on. I don't have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm married, 19 years. Oh yeah, you have a son. He's 16. He loves racing. And I'm like, oh wow. Okay. Yeah. This is,
you know me,
you know a part of me in here, which is weird and fun at the same time. And it's just amazing how God can use things in such a way that help people. And even the mundane valley that is our life and can be our conversation sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think for us, what keeps us on this, we've said it before, and I can't speak for every person who's a podcaster or a pastor or a CEO, a communicator who has to come up with something every week. I know for us, it's the power of connection that's even allowed us to even be successful in the sense of having something release every week.
Yeah.
And the teamwork that it takes to come together to negotiate what we're talking about, even in the moments, but this, setting aside maybe topics, we've said that in the past, but also having each other's back and partnering together to take on different responsibilities to get all this pushed out in time, that it's all about the connection of the other.
Yeah, my dad, who really is more of a recent listener, he's like, "Oh, what you're doing a podcast? Oh, what's that?" On. And so he asked me, "Are you guys doing that into the new year?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I think that's the plan. Like, we're gonna keep doing this." And so it's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I love you, Dad. If you're listening, huge shout out to you. I appreciate you very much for listening. But yes, So if there was any question. Are we going to continue to have conversations? Yes, you and I, obviously conversations with guests and pastors, leaders, entrepreneurs, and with all our friends and stuff in life for sure. I think it would be fun too to have, some of our friends that we're doing life with, to come and be a part of it every once in a while, and that add a little bit of flair to it. And so, so 50 episodes in, I looked up before we got started, what's the significance of 50 in the Bible? And it's really feast and celebration. So to things. Well, one out of the two we can do today was celebration,
that's right.
but feasting. You've got a meeting after this, and
That's right.
I might be feasting on whatever's in the freezer or the refrigerator leftovers or something. I don't know. But
as you're listening to this,
it's celebration.
As we talked about it last week, we are in the middle of 21 days of prayer and fasting at the church that we're a part of.
Yeah.
And so there might be feasting in certain ways, but we're not in a celebration of feasting kind of mode in this season.
Yeah, we just came through feasting in December. So, we're good.
Yeah.
And I'm in this continuation of a journey of hitting 25 pounds lost, and back in the groove of trying to walk every day and work out and just, because I know my why.
Yeah.
And it's there in front of me, and this is the long game.
That's right.
And so it really isn't about a number as much as it is just kind of keeping things in front of me and moving forward. In fact, I think one of the cool things I got over here in the corner of the room, I don't know if you've seen this, it's called the Go Ruck. I don't know if you know anything about rucking.
Yeah, that's where you carry stuff on your backpack, right?
Yeah, so I've got, that's a weighted backpack, or actually it's just a backpack that's designed to properly fit your back in a very form-fitting way.
It's awesome.
But inside, it gives you the ability to put different amounts of weights on the inside of the thing.
Nice.
And so oftentimes when you're walking, and you're walking a lot, you hit your stride, you hit plateaus. And so you got to change things up a little bit. And so one of the things I was looking at is, how can I continue to walk and it be effective in helping me, my weight loss goals and my physical health. And all my friends that I've done this, like, oh, dude, you got to go rucking. I'm like, rucking? What is that? They're like, oh, it's what these guys do to prepare for long hikes in the mountains. And it's basically weighted backpacking.
Yes.
And so I'm like, well, why isn't it called weighting backpacking? Where did the rucking come from? I have no idea where that word came from. But yeah, so I got that for Christmas. My wife was very kind. And so
what a thoughtful gift.
There's
Linda.
a lot of reviews on what type of weight you need to put in it to be effective. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well, I'll just start with 25 pounds. A lot of people are like, well, 30 pounds. And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm 47. So I'm started rucking now. So when I'm walking, I don't have to walk as long.
Yeah.
I can walk shorter amounts and get more done physically, and it works your core. So
that's phenomenal. Because
really
when you do the
about it.
same thing over and over, you build muscle memory, and your body stops getting the same effect from it.
100%.
Because you're just in muscle memory, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Now you've gotten to a tone and a shape that you used to couldn't have done. But now this rucking, that's such a great exercise that you can actually add weight to it.
And we had got that, and we added a treadmill to the mix. That's obviously.
I know, this is amazing. It's going to make our podcast studio. We'll be moving now.
Yeah, which I know we don't do video, but I have a desk in my weight room, and it's basically like a 12 by 12 room. And
I'm surrounded by health.
Yeah.
Health with an HEALTH.
Health, yes.
Health.
And so my weight room, which was also / my office / our podcast studio, is now becoming a full-time little workout room. And so my son, I told him, I said, look, if we're going to share a room, all right, I've got to have it at a certain level. I said, I'll make no apologies for it. I'm an A-type personality. I said, the condition your game room / room is that he's got his own bedroom and his, other room. I said, I love you, bro. And you can live in that as much as you want. It's fine. But dude, it stinks. You got water bottles out and your spray cans and your shoes. And I said, you're going to, if you want the luxury of having a nicer desk in there and us sharing this space a little bit while you're at school and I'm working and then you come home. And so yesterday he spent, all day cleaning that room up.
He's
and it
getting
looked
it ready.
so good.
Nice.
So
good
all
job,
that
Max.
to say, we're going to move this podcast studio from one room, one side of the house to the other. And this will be a weight room. So we'll no longer be surrounded by now a treadmill and a weight bench and a row machine and all of that. I
don't know. It's a little comforting.
I think some people think oh man, it's a studio. Then their mindset, they're probably thinking all the foam and the glass and
don't think that.
No, it's just a 12 by 12
Our
room.
equipment does wonders to make it feel very, very professional.
Yeah, I have no pictures on the wall. It's flat white walls. I mean, I'm not trying to burst the bubble of anybody's imagination.
Just look at our logo and pretend that it looks like that.
That's exactly what somebody said, "Oh, is that your studio?" I was like, "Oh man, in my dreams."
Yeah.
Like, that's that whole like, yes, one day it
That's
will.
what AI thinks that our studio looks like.
That's great. And many people don't know, but that picture was 100% generated by AI.
Man, AI.
People are like, how do you do that? I typed in, it took me a few hours to get it to do what I wanted it to do, but I literally was typing in, okay, 2 armchairs, microphone, dark room, wood floor, light coming in, studio, whatever. And it took me forever, but eventually it gave me that.
Yeah.
And so if you look really closely, you can tell like, oh, okay, that chair's a little warbled. That's my word, warbled. It's like not
warbled.
perfect. It's oh, that microphone's got like 2 cables coming out of it.
AI is so funny.
It is so funny. It's getting better.
Yeah, how you have like a picture of friends and there's an extra hand hanging out.
And it's like 4 fingers or 3. Like, what is happening here?
It's messed up on so many things. It is a great editor. Yeah. It's not always a great creator.
Yeah. So anyway, so all that to say, man, no, but yeah. We're moving into a new digs next week. We'll be recording into a new spot, and there will be a lot of Star Wars Legos around us.
Yeah, there will.
Yeah. Oh man, my son's got that Millennium Falcon.
I'm nervous. I don't want to knock that thing over. He might not be happy with me.
It took him a year to put that together, man. So very grateful.
I believe it. It's huge.
His grandma bought that for him, like 2 years ago, and it was just one of those like, what's that epic toy that you've always wanted that is ridiculous that I would never buy, but grandma was like, I want to bless my grandson, and it made his year.
And it's not just the Millennium Falcon that you could get that was still huge. There's one that's even larger.
It's the big,
it's the big
one. It's huge.
Millennium Falcon that
if it took them a year to put together, and that was a little bit of time here and there.
Because I've put one of those together before, but not that one.
Dude, can I tell you? Let's talk about Legos for a second.
Yeah.
They hurt when you step on them, number one.
That's true.
There is this thing called a Lego headache. Did you know this? When you put together Legos, a lot of people get a headache, and I included in one of those.
Really?
And I don't know if it just works a section of your brain you're normally not working in. I don't know. But it might be the way you're leaning over, constantly kind of straining and figuring out how to put this stuff together. But dude, good 30 minutes in and I'm out. I'm like done. I'm like, oh man, I need an aspirin. I need some Tylenol. My head hurts. Anybody else have that problem? Well, probably. I mean, if you don't have kids, you don't.
Yeah. Hey, I put many Lego together. But you know what I've never had in my life?
What is that?
A headache.
No, I don't believe that for a second.
Never.
No, listen, man.
I've never had a headache.
We got a lot of people that listen to this.
Now, I've eaten a lot of ice cream where you get a brain freeze.
Well, there you go.
So I've had a headache.
You've had your head ache.
So if that's what a headache is, I've had that.
Okay.
Other than that, I've never had any sense of an ache in my head ever.
Last night I
don't understand what a headache is.
I haven't had one. I haven't had one in a long time unless I'm putting together Legos.
And I'm grateful for that, by the way.
Did you ever ride a roller coaster and come off going, golly, my head, like, oh, nothing?
Seriously, I've never had a headache. And I recognize I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people listening that will be like, I hate you in a loving way.
But when you're talking about the Legos, like I've never had to stop because of my head pounding. I've never had a headache.
Oh man,
other than when I eat ice cream because I do eat ice cream fast.
Well, I thought I was messed up. I'm like, what is going on with me? Why does my head hurt every time I help my son put these Legos together? And it's not at first, but it's like after about 30 minutes of doing this thing,
it hits you.
It's like, golly, I'm working a part of my brain or something. What is this?
Maybe that's my deal. I don't work that brain.
I guess it's more, what am I, right-handed, so I'm more left-brained, and if I'm left-handed, I'm right-brained. I don't know.
Like that.
Yeah, I'm much smarter. I don't. Hey, Dr. Summer, give me a shout out. Tell me, or Dr. Google. Hey, Siri. No, I'm kidding. Don't go.
That's true.
It's anytime I say Siri on air, my watch starts talking to me.
That's true too.
Yeah, because that has happened a couple times.
Oh yeah, interrupt us.
But so, surrounded by all the Legos, and I'm not like they're all put together, and my son likes things nice and neat in their proper place with all his Legos. So, we'll be surrounded by some really cool Star Wars Legos, man. And
it will look great. And it's encased.
It's all
so
encased.
I'm not nervous to knock it over.
You're fine.
And if I do, I'm just running.
No, you're good.
I'll be gone. I'm sorry.
Here's the good news. We still have the instruction manual on how to put it all back together.
Heck no.
You know?
Oh my gosh. It brings back so many memories. No, but that's great. It looks phenomenal.
Speaking of mundane in the middle, building things, man, that's the beauty of a Lego, man. There's all these intricate things on the inside that you never see that actually make this thing what it is.
It's true.
And I think that's a lot of, that's life, that's in general in so many different areas, especially our podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't even meant to, but we got this theme going in the first couple of episodes that there's something about the mundane. That's where the magic happens. It really is. It's not the mountaintop experience, as we talked about last week. That gives you revelation. It gives you inspiration.
Yeah.
It gives you, I guess, the motivation to get things going. But at the end of the day, it's all happening. The Legos are being built, and you're only seeing what's over it. You didn't see the intricacies that went in to make that get built the way it is.
There's nothing magical about the mundane, but it's the mundane that creates the magical.
Yeah. Isn't that it?
I mean, isn't it the
It's
truth?
true. Yeah.
It is. And that applies in every area of our life.
Yeah, it does, especially in connections with our friends.
Friends, relationships, which is a common theme for us. In fact, when we were talking relationships, it was interesting. You were sharing something earlier to me. I was like, oh, Dan, this would be great to talk about. So you want to jump into some of that?
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a book that I read. It's an older book. When I say older, I think it's like maybe 2014, 2016. And it's the consecutive episode I've actually mentioned his name, Henry Cloud.
Yeah.
I really love his stuff. Always enjoyed his stuff. You know, I think his big thing is boundaries.
Yeah, I was about to say, so Henry Cloud for a minute, Boundaries was a book that I was given by a pastor one time. It's like a little small, short, it's a small book in that it's physically small, but it feels thick in that there are a lot of pages to it.
Yeah.
I no offense, I'm sure it's an incredible book, but I did not make it through that book.
Well,
it is a great book.
We didn't carry maybe an interest in because
I did not.
I'm the same way. When that came out and I'm in my young 20s, everybody, I used to manage a bookstore called the Carpenter Shop Bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody came in and ordered Boundaries. And I never, when you're around something so much, you can't appreciate it.
Yep.
So I never cared to read it because it was the hot book of the day.
Yeah.
But now, years later, when I started diving into reading and getting into it, it's absolutely brilliant. What he and he also has John Townsend. Mm-hmm. They come together and collaborate on that one. But Henry Cloud has written Boundaries, but also these books like Necessary Endings, just things that they're on a high level, not hard to read, but my goodness, it's just stuff that I wish I would have known then. I just didn't take the time to read then.
It's so true. And let me bring clarity as I open the pages in my brain of memory around that book. Is that I remember somebody giving that to me that I did not have a ton of respect for.
Yes.
And I was like, I can't, in my young, what I'm trying to be very kind to myself, but in my, what's the word I'm looking for, Justin?
Your mean 20s?
No, not my mean 20s. It was probably, 30s probably. But anyway, all that to say, it was in a season where I probably needed a lot of growth and maturity, and I still do. We all do, if I'm being honest. But I couldn't look beyond the person that was giving it to me, and so that book kind of got wrapped into that. And I think because I just had that to deal with, I was like,
you projected that person onto that book,
exactly,
and the book couldn't give you,
and
what
I
it
couldn't
get
past it, and I was like, okay, and so I need to do a reset and a refresh on that. That's not Henry Cloud's fault. That's my own, insecurity, inability, and all the mess I was dealing with.
But that's the great thing about a good book. If it stands the test of time,
absolutely,
you can go back and read it and now get the stuff, and that's what I've been doing. Over the past 6 years, I've gone back into older books. I try to mix with the newer, but I try to read a bunch of dead guys, and then even in between, the ones who were written in maybe the 90s, even early 2000s, that I really, very much like you said, I projected the success and the marketing on it, that I couldn't appreciate what was really the contents of that book. And now I can.
Yeah.
And whether it's going to be a physical book, or there's certain ones that it's like, I don't need a physical for this. It brings back too much. I need an audiobook.
Oh, yeah.
And this is going to be my running book, whatever it is. But for me, there's one that I've read called The Power of the Other. And I won't go into the detail of the book, But we just thought we would throw out some of these, what would be the highlight of the book, because I think it would be very helpful to our listeners in the sense of connection, because your connection with people is everything, and it's going to determine where you're going. The only reason we're at 50 is we've had the connection with each other.
Yeah.
We've surrounded ourselves with good people that have kept us in this sense of keep going.
It reminds me of like a boy band that's put together by like a label that says, oh, I found a guy over in Iowa, and I found a guy in Oklahoma, and I got a guy in California, and got a guy in New York, and they all kind of sing separately, but we think they would look good. And so let's piece them together in this band. And they only last for so long because they've not had any deep, intricate connections in life. And that's why they might rise to fame quickly, but they break up really fast over a couple of albums. Example. Because they were put together, they were pieced together, and although it felt organic, it was forced organic, and it just didn't last.
Yeah, there was just they didn't have a lot of rooted. There wasn't a rooting system.
So it's not built. Like you and I meeting each other in the street and going, "Oh, you can talk, and you got that leadership, and I've got this, and let's piece this together and create a podcast and see what happens." That's not how we built this thing.
No, we have difference. And though you can build something,
you totally can.
When people come together, it takes a lot of the work in the valley when no one's looking to make sure that you're dedicated to make this happen, because your emotions aren't feeling things.
Yeah.
And you might be a little annoyed with each other in certain moments, and or one has just listened to this. Rhett, as we talked about last week, could just listen to the Coldplay album. I could have just been listening to Dr. So-and-so, and I'm coming in wanting to have a sophisticated talk. Rhett's coming in wanting to talk about, let's do this.
Yeah.
And if we don't have some kind of rooting system, we're going to be butting heads the whole time because we have our own agenda.
Yeah.
But we've learned, as we've said, how to negotiate and almost like merge it together and let it become this beautiful picture. Yeah. That's the power of being in that right, what Henry Cloud would call is corner four.
Okay.
So if you were to picture,
if
you were to picture four corners, this is the best way to abbreviate the book. Go read it. I would encourage you. It'll help you in your relationships. But if you were to picture just drawing a box, you having your top left, and it's not going to be one of those quadrants that you want to be in the middle, what I'm about to say. It's almost like leading up to 4 is the best.
Okay.
But if you were to see like a box and you have in your upper left, you would have corner 1.
Okay.
In your upper right, you would have corner 2. Your bottom right, you'd have corner 3. Your bottom left, you'd have corner 4. So we're working our way into that.
So 1 top left, top right is 2.
Yep.
Bottom left, you said is
bottom right.
Bottom right is 3.
And then just shift on over.
Okay, so
you were just image. If you had an image you want in a picture, that's what it is. And the best way to explain it is the corner 1 would just be, in our life, the whole goal is connection. The whole goal is to have true, authentic connection.
Yeah, because as we know, life change happens in real, authentic community in the context of life-giving relationships. 100%.
It's all about who you surround yourself with.
100%.
It's your spouse. That's why you younger people, it is important who you're going to marry. I mean, you better know who you're going to marry, because that's your spouse. And that's going to be a huge part of your life. Yeah. The people, they say, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. A lot of these things are sayings, but they're true.
Yeah.
Who you surround yourself with. I forgot what it was said. It's like, look at the 4 or 5 people that you hang out with, and you're going to see the condition of somebody.
100%.
And it's so true. Who you hang out with, you can aspire for greater or you'll aspire for less. And so the corner 1 is no connection. So you're kind of, obviously you see where this is going to go.
Yeah.
But you're living in this whole no connection. It doesn't mean you're not in the midst of people. It's that in your life, you've not reached this vulnerable level, to this vulnerability to actually open up. And either there's been a wound or something. We can get deeper in that in a minute. But you're not really tethered to anything. You can be in a large crowd, and yet you could just be absolutely lonely.
Yeah. So you could be, I don't mean to keep repeating your words.
Please do. Keep it going.
I'm just talking out loud. So it's the mindset of, I could be in a sea of people, and I could even have what could look like on the surface as like, oh, I know these people, or this is my networking. But if I was honest with myself and with my soul, I would be isolated and alone, because there's no connection it's a surface level type thing, right? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah.
And so there's nothing deeper. Like I'm not talking to anybody and communicating on a deeper level in my soul of what's happening outside of, hey man, I'm doing it. How you doing? I'm good, man. I'm great, man. It's good to see you. Hey, we need to get together. Yeah, but you never do. And it's just, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll see parts of that may even apply to something, one of these other corners.
Okay.
But it really is just a sense of you feel isolated. It's true isolation.
100%.
You're not depending on anybody. You don't have really anybody in your life that you're going to. There's not that friend.
There's no accountability.
There's nobody.
It's just me, myself, and I.
You are alone. It's isolation. You go, you do your work. Even at work, the connection that could exist there. You go do your work and you're out.
Okay.
You've not opened yourself up. So that would be corner one. Corner two would just be bad connection.
Okay.
And so this could be an example of maybe you've been through a hurt. This could be even in the sense if you've had a bad leader.
Okay.
You've had toxic leadership or someone in an authoritative presence in your life and they've made you feel less than. It's whenever you, and it's not always the leader. It could be when you walk in and you're already, once again, you've come from a corner one, so you're used to being isolated, so you think less of yourself maybe. It's when you walk into an environment, you always feel inferior.
Okay.
To somebody. It might be you're an athlete and you're always coming around this group of people, and every time you're around them, you feel less than. So that's corner two.
It's just like it's relationships, but the relationships that you're in bully you and make you feel less than, and it's probably out of their insecurity that they got to make other people feel less than because they're not happy about themselves.
And you can never be good enough.
Okay.
And
gotcha.
you work really, really hard. Now you're not operating your wiring.
It's your friends with narcissists at this point.
It could be, yes.
It could be possibly.
It's friends, it's company.
Okay.
It could be any area of your life, but it's when you're trying to be something and you just can't hit the level. And now you're not even operating in who you are. You're just trying to hit the level. So when you're around it, when you're living in this corner, you're in a constant sense of, I feel worthless. I don't feel like I can hit the mark. I'm not good enough. So you feel terrible about yourself.
Okay.
And what it will either do, and we'll talk about this in a second, but the first thing, it'll either move you back into isolation in corner one.
Yeah.
Or you're in corner two, once again, which is bad connection.
Okay.
Or it will make you shift into corner three.
Okay.
And corner three is what would be called like pseudo connection, the pseudo good connection. It has a form of being good.
Hey guys, Red here. Just wanted to take a moment and ask, if you're enjoying this podcast, could you do us a huge favor? Would you take a moment to copy the link from your podcast platform and then text that to a friend? Man, that would mean so much to us. Thank you. Okay, guys, now back to the conversation.
Corner three is what would be called like pseudo connection, the pseudo good connection. It has a form of being good.
Okay.
And what that means is you've been around enough of feeling less than, you kind of finally found a place that you kind of feel on top. So, and this could come in relationships. It could even come in the form of, I feel like crap. And tonight I'm getting a half gallon of ice cream and I feel better about myself with this connection.
Okay.
So you're seeking comfort in objects or even people who give you what would really be a quick thrill versus anything that's real. It's one night stands that could happen. It's addictions that people will go to. It's where people who are addicted to drugs or people who are drunks, they're alcoholics in their life.
Yeah.
They're living in corner three. They gravitate between corner two and corner three because they feel less than and they got to quickly medicate it.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
100%. I'm with you.
And so that would be your corner three. So once again, corner one, no relationship, you're isolated. Corner number two, you're in what would be bad connection. You don't really have true connection. You can't ever be good enough, which therefore makes you want to become good enough.
Yeah.
And if you do aspire, it has a sense of good because you want to rise above because you don't want to feel terrible. You go to corner three, which is really you're medicating yourself. It's a pseudo fix. Yeah. It feels good temporarily. Anything you could imagine. Your ultimate goal, though, is you're working towards corner four. And that's the whole basis of this book, which is true connection. That's where there's true vulnerability. That's where there's sense of equality.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to attain, but yet I am prodded to be better.
Mm-hmm.
So us with, our friendship, I don't come in to try to prove things with you because
we're not
we
in
built a
competition to ourselves,
foundation.
right? Yeah.
But yet I get better when I hang out with you.
Yeah.
But you can also call me on stuff and I can call you on stuff.
Yeah.
So it's this constant space where you're growing. You can get your feelings hurt. That's okay. But you can at least talk it out, or you now don't go shift back into, I'm going to go hang out with my crew in corner 3 where I feel like the king again.
I would say there's a lot of people living in 1, 2, and 3.
A lot of people.
Yes, surrounded by a lot of people, alone. And then when I do surround myself, it's the toxic crowd where, because of all their hurts, their wounds of them living in zone 3, if you will, now they're taking it out on me, and I'm just a pawn in the wheel of whatever makes them feel better, and I'm less than, and I'm trying to get better, and so I'm getting my fixes, and maybe not relationally, but maybe with all the substance or abuse or the things that we'll click on, look at, whatever temporary fixes that are never lasting, or never fulfilling, longing for more. Then we go right back into zone 2 and then it's just this crazy,
it's a vicious cycle,
mix of cycling between all of this. And then we're like, well, I'm hurt and I'll go alone, but I need my fix, but then I need the people, and it's the wrong people. And I long for this kind of relationship to have healthy, conversations in a healthy place where I can be vulnerable and trust the person that I'm being vulnerable with, not to, I think that's hard when you've dealt with those kind of toxic relationships. I mean, you have the triggers, if you will, of trauma. It's like, I don't know if I trust you enough to open up, because every time I've been made to feel less than.
Yes.
And I don't know if I can trust this. I don't know if I can open up to this, because, and I think that's where at the end of the day, you just have to, you do have to take a step, but you have to be aware of the people you're opening up to. And there's those moments where you can open up to somebody that it can be trusted, but you don't know till you open up, right?
No, it's so true. And you can see that dance. I mean, it is 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3. And no matter what season you've been in and what condition that you're in, it gets back to what we said before. You might kind of forget your why for a little while, and you're on a whim. Yeah. And you're kind of living in this mindset. You've lost yourself a little bit. And that's where you're going to be hovering through the 1s, 2s, and the 3s. Yeah. It's when you and Micah were getting to have that conversation a few episodes back, where I've been in those places, these dark moments of forgetting who I am. Yeah. Thank God I had the corner 4 relationships to kind of pull me back in, who called me out who you are. Yeah. Don't forget, this is who you are. Yeah. But I was so corner 2'd or so corner 3'd that I almost felt like you're kind of patronizing me. Yeah. But I had to kind of step fully into the vulnerability of corner 4 to embrace and trust that you're speaking the truth to me. And then you start to live in that again, and you begin to heal. Yeah. So it's not perfect, but corner 4 is where vulnerability exists. Yeah. And you can grow, you can have bad days. Yeah. But it's a safe space. Coming to relationships, it's amazing that God wants to use people for the process of healing, and the enemy wants to use people for the process of destruction. Yeah. And so because people ultimately are the process to bring fulfillment in life. Yeah. And so God wants to use our relationships in a way to where we're actually helping people towards healing. Yes. James 5:16, confess your sins to one another. In other words, your faults, your issues to one another, and pray for each other. Involve the right people in the right moment, so that the rest of the verse is that you may be healed. Yeah. For the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. In other words, those who are doing life with the right people, those corner 4 people, not that they're perfect, because they're not, but because their priorities are in order and they truly do want to help people. If you involve God in the mix of that, there's healing that happens. Now, where people cross the line is, well, you're saying I got to go to people to get forgiveness? No. You go to God for forgiveness, right? God is the only one who can forgive us of our sins, our hurts, our wounds, and all the guilt and the shame and the pain and the stain of sin. He's the only one. But make no mistake that God uses people in the process for us to find freedom to walk through the issues of life. And you and I have been that for each other. That's right. For a very long time. And so what I would say to that is, what I'm hearing is, again,
God wants to use people in that corner 4 zone to help you get healthy and in the right place. But he not only wants you there for what's in it for you, as he ministers from other people into you, he then in turn wants you to be that for other people.
Yeah, that's right.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, that's well
It's
said.
not just all about you receiving. It's about you receiving so that you can in turn make a difference in other people's life to help them out of 1, out of 2, out of 3 into this 4.
Well, and if you can utilize
corner.
this mindset, it can help you in every area of life because think about it, even in your work, you're working with some people, toxicity can kind of set in all the time. If you, maybe there's, you're having meetings with people and your ideas kind of getting rejected and you just kind of feel like, God, but you either avoid it, so you kind of slip out of it. You can always see what kind of corner are you, maybe even your company culture is living in, because let's say there's 3 people. So you already have this triangle going on, right? Yeah. Let's say person A, B, and C. A and B are having a conversation and they've got some struggle going on. So I'm A, I'm talking to B. B's really just kind of annoying me, like we're just not seeing eye to eye. Yeah. But I'm not on a level I'm wanting to work it out with them. So I now go to C, which is someone that I trust, I love, they love me, and I talk to them about B. And now B is being bashed. Me, A and C over here are having a talk, and even C is like, oh, Justin, you're so awesome. That should never be said to you. Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Well, now C's not really helping me. It seems like it is, but what we have done is we have shifted now into a corner 3 conversation because they're medicating me. Yeah. They're helping me feel better about myself. It's okay. Corner 4, you can feel better about yourself, but what it would look like is, how can I help work this out for you? They don't make B look like the villain. Yeah. You get to see, you hear the verse, wounds from a friend. Yeah. It's when your friend can also say, well, have you also thought about maybe you could be doing this? Yeah. And you're like, ooh, that's now a little bit. You kind of tick me off a little bit. Yep. I'm coming to you. You're supposed to be helping me. And now you just called me out. Now that person's trying to be a true corner 4 relationship. I can choose to leave that moment and go back to corner 3 and say, well, I'm going to go talk to D because they'll make me feel good about myself. Once again, you're being medicated, or are you with a true C in corner 4 who's going to say, but at least acknowledge where you could work. You could go confront that person and have a face-to-face with them. Yeah. Or how can I help mediate with you two?
I think of this through the lens of the human body. When we get hurt, oftentimes we just immediately, if it's a cut or bruise, we want to put a Band-Aid over it, put some Neosporin on it. But there are some injuries that happen to us that are absolutely painful, 100%. But we have to go through more pain in order to get better, which is called surgery. Yeah. Thank God there's medicine for that. But at the end of the day, you have to cut something open, expose some things, get down into the inside of the human body to actually repair and to fix. But that repair and that fix are actually going to cause, more physical pain. And the recovery process is going to be longer. But over time, you're actually going to be better for it. That's right. In my mind, I'm thinking corner 4 people are kind of like that surgeon, that doctor. It's like, I'm not just going to give you something that's going to medicate. I'm actually going to give you something that might hurt, maybe even sting a little bit, but it's out of love to help you longevity in life to get better. Yeah, no, that's right. To grow and to be more healthy and more mature in the long run, and stronger too. And
it requires vulnerability and humility to even be able to do this right. Yeah. Because it challenges me. I want to be a better friend. Yeah. See, I can be a people pleaser. Yeah. So it makes me look, God, if Rhett's going through something, I want to know that when you're sharing something with me, even if I see an angle you might not see, I'm not being a good friend if I just let you talk and just let the person be the victim. Yeah. And I just say, well, Rhett, God, they don't know you the way I know you. Mm-hmm. But yet if I really see something and I don't say it, my people pleaser side is not allowing me to be the best C, if you will, into your A-B situation that you're having. Yeah. And so it challenges me. And so even for the listeners, how does that challenge you when you think about wounds from a friend? Those are some of the toughest moments that you're going to have when you have someone coming to you, and it's easier just to acknowledge what they're saying But if you see a truth in that matter and you've earned that place with them,
Yeah.
to in kind be able to say, have you looked at this angle?
Yeah.
Even if it ticks them off for the moment,
Mm-hmm.
if you let them deal with it and they will deal with it with vulnerability and humility, they will come back to you and they'll see you as that true person
Yeah.
who had their best interest.
And there's wisdom in the approach.
Totally.
I mean, you know,
Gotta have a good approach.
A corner 4 person should have enough self-awareness to understand whether or not I have enough relationship equity built in to where my voice is welcomed to
Right.
help.
Yeah.
Because there are some relationships where you're like, man, I don't have it. I'm not welcome to be able to speak into this. I don't have that relational equity.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's important to say, man, you know, of course, there's compassion. I'm showing comfort in this conversation as the people pleaser going, man, I'm so sorry. That hurts. That's got to be tough. But then, you know, are you coming to me to share this just, you know, for me to know? Are you wanting me to speak into this?
Right.
Because if you're allowing me to speak into this, man, I hate that you're going through this, but have you thought about how you might be a part of that problem?
Yeah.
Right. But you can't necessarily, unless you're welcomed into it, well, then you come across, well, you're just a jerk. You're not for me. No, like if we're friends and we're going on this journey of a deeper level, then allow me, I'm not going to throw you under the bus, but I think it's important for all of us as leaders to look at, maybe I'm not, maybe I am, but at least ask the question to look at myself in the mirror to go, how am I contributing to this? If there's an issue, because we can all grow and get better. Every single one of us.
And what if
myself.
What if that first conversation, you bring up a good point. If you're approaching me, but you're not asking my guidance right now,
right?
Well, we've got equity built. It's okay to have that talk where I'm just listening right now.
100%.
I don't have to try to fix anything. But if it just turns into just, you're now just getting your junk out, but you're not even asking, it's almost like we're shifting now into corner 3. Because now I'm just listening, but you're not asking. So at some point, if it's important enough for me, after maybe 1 or 2 of those meetings of listening, I need to insert myself and not give my advice yet, but say, hey, let's follow up and meet again. And I would love to give my thoughts now that I've listened to a couple of these talks, if you care to hear. And if they were to say, no, I just need a sounding board. What's happening is they're not allowing this relationship to truly build, because if you're just a sounding board, you can only be that for so long if you're not really wanting to get something back to consider how you can get better. And that's why those relationships, I bet if you were to look over time, and I know we're saying this in the moment, I bet those aren't really strong relationships now if it goes on.
100%.
If you're just a sounding board that's listening, because now eventually I'm thinking, it's really not even a reciprocal friendship anymore. I'm just listening. I'm not even a coach or a counselor. This is a dying relationship. Because it's no longer reciprocated.
Now you're sucking the life out of me and my time and my energy, and you're pulling me away from my why.
That's right.
Which is truly trying to help people, but you don't want, and so.
Which is probably what that book, Necessary Endings, that he wrote, talks about, where it's time that we had a thriving friendship at once, but it has to go 2 ways. And you might hit a moment because you are who you're like. If you're not continually growing together, there might be a moment, just like people are listening now and they've realized, yep, I've been there. You've had to sever ties with a relationship that just could not continue to move with you. And that's a tough thing to actually say.
One of the things I'm thinking through is the relationship I have with my wife. If you're married, it's your spouse. And if you're married, there should be the most important relationship, corner 4, is your spouse.
Definitely.
And so as you were mentioning this, one of the things that I've struggled with, and I'm just being honest, for, going on 19 years of marriage, this, April, is listening to respond rather than listening to understand. And when my wife is sharing stuff with me, I've always been quick to, well, here's the problem, let me just fix it. Like, here it is. And I'm already thinking about, I know the solution in a matter of a moment. And the one thing that we've had to talk through, and I've had to get, we've worked in our communication, and I would just say I'm finally, I don't know if I've learned this, give me grace, but I have learned this through the fact of the conversations I've had with my wife. And she simply said, hey, listen, when I'm sharing things with you, I'm not asking for you to fix it.
Yeah.
It's not about the nail. If you've never seen that little clip, type in, it's not about the nail Christian meme, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But it's hilarious. Like, I just want to be able to express what I'm going through without you trying to fix it. I just want you to relate to that emotion. And if I want your help and I want your response, I will ask for it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I'm like, as we get into conversations, I'm like, is this something that you just want me to lean into and listen to? And she's like, yes. I'm like, awesome. And I'm leaning in and I'm listening.
Yeah.
Right. That's what Corner 4 people do. And then if she invites me after she's done it, I'm like, man, that hurts. I'm sorry. That's painful. That must be frustrating. Whatever the emotion is, I'm connecting to that.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, what would you do?
Yeah.
And she will actually ask me. And when she asks me, then I'll go, okay, then that's my invitation to offer a solution to either be, have you thought about it through the lens that you might be a part, it's hard for me to say, part of the problem, which is never the case because my wife is perfect.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Or, whatever it might be. And so as I think through this lens, I don't even just think through it through the lens of a friend. I think through the lens of how this applies in marriages.
Yeah.
And in those deeper,
it's
intimate,
multifaceted the way it is, because y'all have taken, it doesn't have to always have a fix.
It doesn't,
because it's the withdrawals deposits we've talked about before. Linda can come and just take a few withdrawals and not even ask your thoughts, because enough in a Corner 4 relationship.
Yeah.
Her being able to just say that without even resolution to it, that helped her.
Yeah.
Like Summer and me will talk without resolution to it. She just needed to get something out.
Yeah.
And we'll finish talking and she'll say, I already feel better just getting to talk about it.
Yeah. Cause they already know the answer. Like in that kind of relationship, they already know the answer. They know the next step. They're not necessarily, talking about it to get your input. They just need that safe zone of, I get just like writing it out on a piece of paper. I need to get it out and out in the open and acknowledge it's there. And then, I can either move forward or I know the next step.
And the reason you're in a Corner 4 relationship is they will not belittle you after you say it. If you start telling somebody something and they begin belittling you, they're trying to throw you into Corner 2.
Yep.
Where you feel terrible about yourself. And that's not a real Corner 4 relationship. You can reciprocate, you can go back and forth.
So it's being able to identify
withdrawals.
Yeah. So whatever circle you're in right now, we would just encourage you to try to be self-aware enough to identify where you're at on these zones and not to feel like you're entrapped there, but there is hope.
Yeah.
And I go back and I know like we're about to land the plane on this episode, but for me, I think back and it was 16 years old for me. I was doing life in that zone 2 or Corner 2, Corner 3 life and Corner 1. But then when I stepped into a spiritual family, it was not perfect. And there were people in that spiritual family in Corner 1, Corner 2, and Corner 3, and Corner 4. But it put me in a place where I found, and I made the decision, and you can too. And I would say if you don't know where to start and you feel trapped by your Corner 2 relationships and you feel like engulfed in this, like, I can't get out of these. I mean, these people I've been doing life with forever, and you're asking me just to stop doing life with them. I'm like, yeah, I kind of am. But go find it. It's there. It exists. And I'm telling you, the best start is a local life-giving church. And within that local life-giving church, you will know it's thriving when they do healthy small groups where there's communities based on common interest and passion and purpose who are taking their time to be a Corner 4 relationship for you. You know what I mean? And those type people, they exist. They're there. They're in your community. You just have to take the step to make the choice to go. And that should, I would say, man, maybe this is a sign. You've been praying for a sign. You've been praying for the voice of the Lord. This is it for you for 2025 to take that step into some life-giving relationships. in a local church. I'm telling you. And that's what makes the local church so beautiful. It's in its imperfectness.
Yep.
Like we've got all of those corner 1, 2, 3, and 4s there, a lot more corner 4s. They're there. Find them, get connected, and watch what happens. Because over 31 years, for us, this is what we now have because of those choices we've made. And I look back, and it's unfortunate for me to say, the corner 2 people and corner 3 people I was hanging out with before the spiritual family I stepped into, some of them are still there, and the decisions that they've made have impacted their lives in ways that's just so detrimental. And God can still work a miracle out of those ashes.
That's right.
But I am so grateful that I made the decision, that you made the decision, and we went together, which was so cool.
Yep.
Which makes it even more
It was the
special.
power of the other.
Yeah.
By us doing that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how large or small the church is. You can find it. That's why you and I, in a couple of weeks, at the time of you listening to us, we're going to launch back into our small group. Same crew, but we'll also have a door open for a new group of people who want to come join us. And we got these dudes. We meet every Thursday right after lunch, and we are all so different, but yet we have such a commonality.
It's so fun.
And it is a bunch of corner 4 relationships now where we have each other's best interests. We text each other during the week. We did it over Christmas holiday. And we just check up on each other, or there's a new job hunt somebody's going through. I mean, I was talking to my wife about it last night that I love my men's small group because we have created.
It's taken a year, by the way. It's taken a year.
It did not exist.
It didn't.
And now you have guys who we know each other and their friendships. We're going out to lunch at different times and coffees, and it's true corner 4 relationships. And if it can happen for us, just having a small group a year ago, starting with me and Rhett, and then a couple of others, and now you've got like 13 people coming. It can happen with you. It just takes an intentionality to say, I'm going to be vulnerable, I'm going to be humble, and I'm going to put myself out there.
That's it.
God, 2025, bring me the corner 4s.
Yeah. You know, you've heard it said, you know, if you want 2025 to be the best year of your life, it really does begin when it's the best year spiritually. In a spiritual step, like God won't do it all for you. You have to take a step. It's intentionality with what you said. You got to take it. He's waiting on you. You move, he moves with you. But you got to take that first step.
Coming up on the next episode of Armchair Authentic, you're always going to be in a condition where you're going to want to attain more. It's what do you do with those thoughts? And I notice for me, it's not a give up and don't dream anymore. Like dream away.
Because I'm going to get my boat one day, and I don't care if I have to go down that route. But
yeah, man, you living in paradise.
One day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and if you do,
and I don't need it to be happy. I don't need to be happy, but to create some fun memories. I mean, that'd be fun. It'd be fun.
It's all about what your heart, like, what is your heart? What's your motivation? Because if you're doing it in that way, you have something you've purchased, and it's something that is bringing memories and values. Or did you buy it out of a way to self-medicate? We're really looking forward to that episode. But until then, if you enjoyed this conversation, will you pull out your phone and text it to a friend? We would love for them to join us on this journey. Well, until next time, we will see you soon.